Welcome to Permission to Shine, the space where high-achieving women like you come to peel back the layers, overcome what's been holding you back, and rise into your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Sharice Bisram, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, and a woman who knows what it means to look like she's thriving on the outside, also while feeling disconnected on the inside. This podcast is here to remind you, you didn't come here to just perform, you came here to lead with your soul. Your obstacles, they're invitations to expand. And your power, it was never outside of you. It's been waiting within you all along. Each week we'll dive into honest conversations, healing insight and soul-led strategies to help you stop self-sabotaging, reclaim your light and lead your life, your business and your relationships from deep-rooted truth. So if you're ready to rise with grace, softness and fire, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I have a lovely guest with you today, and what's really nice about Pam joining me today is that I haven't looked too much into what Pam does, so I'm going to learn about Pam as much as you learn about Pam. But Pam approached me and we connected on social media, and I just felt like I want to know more about this lady, so I am going to introduce to you the lovely Pam Shanker.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was really great to connect on Instagram. I was a civil servant for many, many years, and woke up one morning in 2016 and read an article about a lady that had been really successful in property and just thought, I'd like to do that. I had another 20 years till I could retire, and it was either do that 20 years for someone else or do that 20 years for me. And this lady really, really inspired me because she was really successful in property. She'd been hopping between Barbados and the UK, and she'd started from nothing, and it was just a really lovely story. And I just thought I'd like to do that. So to cut a long story short, I gave up my job at the beginning of 2017 and went into property. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. All I knew was that whatever it took, I would be successful. I'd work it out. Whatever, hurdles came, I'd go round them, over them, under them, whatever needed to be done, I'd learn. And so that's what happened. So over the last since 2017, I've been growing a portfolio. And then in 2020, as we went into lockdown, I started helping other people grow their wealth through property and set up a property company. So I was helping British nationals overseas to buy property in the UK. And that was really successful and, going really well. And then in 2022, I ended up with shingles all in my head and all down my face. And it was a wake-up call to do something different. And I sat there and realised that I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. I'd just swapped a job working for someone else for a job that I'd created myself. And I sat with it and thought, what would I really like to do? And it was to be with people. I'd really missed people after COVID. And I missed people's energy. I missed being in the room with people. I missed just the general, chatting, the energy particularly. And so I decided to retrain as a coach, as a transformational life and business coach. So that's what I did in 2022. And at the same time, I was guided to set up the Universe Café. So the Universe Café is it's a beautiful space, a beautiful community where people can be inspired to be, do and have whatever they want. It was created because I changed my story so much. I created that space for other people to come into so they could change their story as well. So I'm still doing that. I'm still running monthly events, law of attraction events, and helping people change their story. And I'm coaching. I have a business club and run business networking, and I show people how to grow their business using the law of attraction and all the magical, energetics around that.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you for going straight in and giving us the full whack. I feel like that was very concise, which I love. And it's so interesting, isn't it, how it takes one thing to inspire this change. And I think that so many people I speak to every day are like, oh, I'm really inspired to do this, or I feel called to do this, and they just don't do it.
Yeah.
So, what really was that pull for you? Because I feel like we all say it, right? Like I said, but there
Yeah.
must have been more behind that as
Hmm.
to you getting up and going and doing it. Because it would be so easy to just be like, oh, that's lovely for her. I'd like to do that one day. So, what really was that push for you that you
Yeah.
felt like I can do this?
Hmm. So they say when the student is ready, the master appears. And I'd always loved my job, always, right from I went straight into it, straight out from education into the civil service, and I'd always really enjoyed what I was doing. And then they'd gone to rationalising the estate and closing offices. And over the last 18 months or so, I'd just lost my mojo. I'd just lost uh, lots of people had left, and it was a completely different place. We were doing things differently. It was just, I just didn't want to, I wasn't feeling it anymore. I just wasn't feeling that wonderful energy anymore. I'd moved buildings, I'd moved teams, I don't know how many times, and I just didn't feel it anymore. And then this opportunity came, this article about this lady, and she was running a course I forgot to mention before, she was running a course to give back to women. And it was, I just felt really inspired to do that. She inspired me. She had shown me how she could do it from nothing. And so I just figured, well, if she can do it, then I can do it. And as I say, I just didn't have any knowledge, just a belief. And I think if you've got the belief, then you can find the knowledge.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely that. No, I love that. And you know what? What I love about the way you explain that then is that it got to be easy because you chose it to be so. And I think that we get so caught up as humans in all of the little details, don't we? We try and figure it all out and we get caught up in the how and the why and the what and we get so hyper fixated on that part that that's why we don't move. But I think the fact that you were like, I know nothing about this. I'm just going in with an open mind and a curious mind. That's how it all's probably started to unfold without your ego telling you you can't do it. You were like, well, I don't know anything about it, so let's just give it a try, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I feel like the universe does this all the time. It calls you, right? The universe is calling you all the time, and you picked up the phone and
I did.
answered.
I did. I've had a few of those where I've been guided into doing something massive. And I didn't even, yeah, I didn't even know about the law of attraction or any of that when I gave up work in 2016. One of my mentors used to liken it to wizards and muggles from Harry Potter. I was a definite muggle and I'm definitely a wizard now. So
Yes.
discovered that shortly after I changed my life path. And now I look back at that time in my life and definitely realised that I had a download, definitely was guided into this and just did it openly and said yes and went with it.
Mm. And
Yeah.
I wonder as well, like because I believe in my, like my soul journey, and obviously when I look at my clients and things like that, that there's definitely been kind of like little inklings probably before you got to that point as well. Like, was there anything in your life that maybe was obstacles or things that you had to live through and work through up to that point? Because obviously I feel like it's the hero's journey, and you're almost like wherever you started there's this need to either prove, provide, or become something. And I wonder if before you got to this point, if there was anything in your journey that kind of, yeah, like I said, led you on this quest.
Um, Not all I will say is unhappiness and dissatisfaction. There was I liken that part of my life, that working part of my life, because my home life's amazing, but the working part of that of my life to Battleship Grey. I was doing what other people wanted me to do all the time. I was quite happy to do it. I knew no different. And then all of a sudden, I just wasn't happy doing that anymore. But not just unhappy, I was really unhappy and I felt it here. I felt that pressure, in my chest. I felt that I got that feeling that this wasn't this wasn't it. And then when I woke up this morning and read this article and found out all about this lady. It was just a switch flicked within me, and instantly I knew it was the right thing. Instantly. And I knew it was all or nothing. I was going to go on this course, I was going to do this training, and I just knew. And I didn't feel, because again, I'm all or nothing. I couldn't do both. I couldn't fulfill a full-time job and do this. It was one or the other. So I gave up my job and went off and did that. And I had a similar download when I moved from the property side of things, because I still do it for me, but not for the people. I had a similar download when I went from property into coaching.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak more on that then. What was that transition for you? Because I know you said you had the shingles, and obviously that was a physical manifestation of probably the inward turmoil that you were feeling. So, what do you think the shift was there?
So by this time, I'm really well into the universe and the law of attraction and into energy and into feeling it. I've had loads of synchronicities by this point. I'm really open. My intuition's really great. I'm very open to listening to my higher self. And so I recognized the awareness again, that something needed to change, that my body was telling me, and I was getting guidance to tell me to look to something else. And I didn't know what that was, but I kept asking, what is it? What am I meant to be doing? Show me what I need to do. And then I was guided. I was shown what I was going to do. I was shown how I was going to do it. I was shown where I was going to do it. What training company I was going to use. I was guided into creating the Universe Café, and then guided into how that has then developed. So, and I'm waiting for another guide download at the moment. There's a question I've got out there that I'm still waiting for an answer to. But yeah, it's really exciting. Absolutely love it. The energy is amazing around this, and I'm showing other people how to raise their vibration and call in whatever they want.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it definitely has to be some point, doesn't there, where you're almost feeling stuck or stagnant or something. And I feel like I try to get that very clear to everyone I speak to, whether that's the listeners or clients or potential clients, is that you have to have that like irkness of like, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel right, because otherwise you wouldn't move. So if you always felt, so if you were continuing the property business and everything felt great there, you wouldn't need to move, you wouldn't need to grow. So I think that, you know, everyone listening, and I've said this a million times over, this is your invitation when it feels hard or awkward or uncomfortable to, you know, one, sit with that and listen to what your soul is saying, as you're saying, Pam, how your soul had been giving you those kind of openings. And sometimes as well, which I think was lovely there about the fact that you have a question that you're still waiting to be answered, that it isn't maybe the time yet for the answer to come forward. And I think, you know, from your unfoldings, it's very clear to see that everything has been in that divine alignment, but equally you've been moving. And I
Yeah.
think that this is the thing that people get caught up in, I believe, in manifestation, is that they're trying to have it now, you know. And it's like, and sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes you ask for something and it comes through. I remember just like loosely kind of thinking something in the shower, and then later that day it happens and I'm like, but it's the detachment to it, right? It's like, you know, we put the weight on these things to have them and hold them in tangible form, and actually sometimes it's like, this is just step one of like 100 steps that we've got to take, and it's just that trusting the journey process. And I wonder, in your becoming of who you are now, and, you know, answering these calls to the universe, have you had those moments of like, oh, why isn't it happening yet, or this feels uncomfortable? Have you had those moments?
So I have a lack of clarity. So that I was really clear to move into property. I was really clear to move into coaching. I was really clear to set up the Universe Cafe. But then, and I know what my big vision is. I'm really clear on that big vision, but it's the how. It's the how that I need clarity on.
Mm.
I recognize that I just need to wait for the direction to come, to take the next step, to take the next step, to take the next step. And there's a part of my business at the moment that I'm sort of changing slightly, and then there's another part that I just don't know where that is going. So I'm just gonna leave that where it is, doing what it's doing, and I'm asking the questions around that, and I'm waiting for the guidance on that to show me the direction.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you for that honesty there, because I think that's something that a lot of people are feeling. And you know what? I would say more so people that are, entrepreneurs or multi-passionate people. It's those people we're speaking to, right? Because I'm also that, within my business, there's lots of different strands, and I'm a manifesting generator in human design, if that's something you know about.
Yeah.
And so I have to do multiple things at once, like all the time I was a professional dancer, I was also teaching, I was also doing promotional work and all these other bits around whatever I was doing. So now in my business, I still have multiple strands, and it's like, we can't be in control of all of them at the same time. So it is about that, isn't it? It's like the plates are all spinning. Sometimes you have to leave it and let it do its own thing, as you said, and move round and through. And I think for people that are listening that have that in their life, whether that's being a mum and also running a business, or doing a full-time job and making sure everyone else is happy in your life as well as you, it's like sometimes you have to let go of that control and just be like, okay, what's important right now, listening to that for sure. But I guess in all of your story and this transformation that you've been going through and really deepening into, where was the moment that you think in your life that you really gave yourself that permission to shine and be all of you?
I think when I went into coaching, I think, I now recognize I've given myself permission just to be me. And some people will love that and some people won't love that. I've got a community that I'm growing, and the people in there obviously love what we're doing. And there are people, that are not in there yet, and there are some that would love to be and some that wouldn't. So, I recognise that everybody's sort of standing on the shoulders of giants. Tony Robbins, everybody you can mention, Bob Proctor, everybody's standing on the shoulders of giants. We're not born with the information. We grow as human beings. And therefore, I've taken a completely different journey. And I say this to absolutely everybody listening. We've all taken a completely different journey to this moment in time right now. And whatever journey that was, however difficult or how easy, we are all totally unique and perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect, and that's great, and that's enough, and that's just how it is, and we don't need to be anything else. So I definitely have given myself permission just to be me, and to do what I'm doing, and always striving to be better, always wanting to be better, but how I am now is also just amazing.
Absolutely that. I couldn't agree more. And I think it really is that, everything is the self-acceptance piece, isn't it? And I believe that manifestation is a byproduct of high and deep self-worth. And I think that is that energetic alignment, isn't it? When you feel worthy of the thing that you want, like to go into maybe law of attraction, it is really that, isn't it? Because if you don't feel worthy of the things that you want or you're asking for, you'll never receive them. So I'd love to know kind of like how law of attraction plays a part in, your life and in the work that you do.
Yeah. So I think, just going back to what you just said then, I think you need a clear energetic field. So if you've got any blocks, any resistance to anything, then it's awareness is key. So become aware of that, and work through that. But I do a lot of work with businesses, and bring in the practical side of growing a business, but also the law of attraction and manifesting. So it is about getting really clear on what you want, getting that vision and getting that strategic plan and taking the action. But the key is also in the energy that you use, that the energy that you are activating as you're taking that action. So I sat down with a client recently, and we've done a piece of work quite some time ago, and then she wanted to sit down and do some more. And we sat down, and we talked around her new vision, because we're always in a different place every day, her new vision. And she walked away from that session, and just because what we focus on expands, so wherever we give our energy, of course, the universe is firing off all over. So we sat down and we did this piece of work, and then she left the session and she came back to me. She said, "You'll never guess what." And I kept just getting all these, "You'll never guess what, you'll never guess what." Somebody had appeared, or she'd found the right person for this job, or she'd got this big client, or all of a sudden, just because she'd focused her energy and her energy was amazing, all these wonderful things were happening. And we do have to let go of the outcome. We can't, control what's going to come towards us, but it is just being open and then clearing that energetic path to allow and being open to allowing. So I find when you give something energy, whatever good energy, then it's just amazing what things can happen on the peripheries.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I feel like that comes down to that permission, like you're giving yourself the permission to like be, feel, and have that thing. And I always tell like my clients, it's like, how does it feel to actually have that thing? Instead of actually saying, oh, I want that, it's like, if you did have that, how does that actually feel? And generally, I think everything comes back to this sense of feeling at peace and at ease in ourselves, because that's ultimately what we're craving, isn't it? Like more money, more opportunities, more all these things. Generally, the version of us that has all of that is very much at peace with herself because she has already received it, right? And I think, even for myself, I think because I'd come from such a diverse, adverse background and upbringing, that for me seemed so far away most of my life, and I was sort of running from doing that work. And then when it finally caught up with me and consumed me in the healing journey and all the things, that I almost got caught up in the how of doing that I lost the sight of what does it feel like after that. And
Yeah.
that's something that is a life journey for me to always come back into, because I always talk about how trauma is a cycle and healing is a cycle. So we're going to constantly go through moments where we're triggered and be reminded of that. And obviously the trick is to not fall into the hole again, but to, use the practices that I teach in order to get out the other side. And so for me, the real clarity moments come from coming back to that sense of, oh, it feels peaceful to be me. It feels safe to be me now. And I wonder, in your life, is there anything that you kind of feel like is something you have to relearn again? Is there, because we're always learning, aren't we, and growing and healing. And I wonder what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So I have to remember to just stop pushing, to
Mm,
to actually stop pushing energy, to actually allowing energy, to realizing that it doesn't have to be hard work. I don't have to keep going out there. I don't have to keep pushing. That actually I can sit back and, get into that lovely energetic space. And then from that space, then, open my energetic field and allow things to come to me. I have had and have limiting beliefs around a whole host of things, and they're always going to show up. Always going to show up, and life isn't about being on that top vibration 24/7.
mm.
There's that ebb and flow of our feelings, and it's all right to feel how we feel. But it's when you're not feeling how you want to, when you're not particularly feeling great, when you've got that awareness that there's something going on. For me, I journal my way out of it. But awareness is key, and then just sitting back into, right, okay, well, I don't want to sit in this energy. I would rather be over there in that energy. So the journey to get from here to there, I need to do this. And so it's a conscious effort to get into that.
Yeah, that is
But
our practices, isn't it? And our tools.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Meditation, silence, allowing that intuition, allowing those downloads. Um, that is very, very powerful for me.
Absolutely that. And I also now kind of have been, because I teach like divine feminine leadership, that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I feel like what you're speaking on there is obviously your years of being in your masculine hustle and doing and coming back into that feminine. And one thing that I've learned is that when we are in this cycle of pushing ourselves to the limit, which I also do, by the way, I'm a massive advocate for that. I lived in this masculine survival mode for so long that I stop, surrender, and then do something creative instead. So I feel like that gets all of that energy forward. And I feel like because obviously I was a professional dancer for so long, I'll just put some music on and just dance around, or maybe I will just colour something in randomly. I'm not an artist, but one of my clients was, and she teaches art practices, and she really was a lovely invitation to like dive into just drawing for the sake of it. I've got nieces and we colour together. Those little moments where we get to play, I think we forget that as adults and as leaders leaders, don't we? Forget that that's also a part of who we are, and we get to be all of those things, which is, a big part of my work, that integration of our inner child and all those beautiful things. But I'd love for you to speak more on your universal calf, because that sounds really interesting. So I'd love for you to tell us, what is that? What does it look like? What do you do there?
Yeah. So the Universe Cafe was set up because a lady actually approached me and asked me for a job. It was when I was doing property, and I didn't have a job, but I did meet her for coffee because I think people lead to people lead to people. It's always great to meet people, and so we sat and at the end of that conversation, I really wanted to welcome her into my life. I wanted to meet her for coffee and lunch, and I just thought I can't fit anybody else in my life. You can't just keep picking people up, Pamela. You need to so I thought, well, I'll create a community where I can invite people into this space. So I called it the Universe Cafe and then started having regular monthly. I opened it up as a cafe, literally a pop-up cafe, so people could come in, be part of this community, learn about the law of attraction. So we start off by celebrating our wins. We look at our self-kindness, self-care. We look at there's always some teaching around law of attraction, manifestation, possibility, having a dream and being able to go and achieve it. And then there's the goal setting. So people then, whether it's business or lifestyle stuff, so people have come into this lovely community and they've given up jobs, they've started new businesses, they've moved abroad, they've done crazy things like wing walking. I call cold water swimming a crazy thing, but so the things that we, as you said before, I would love to do that, but they don't actually move. People move. It's all around taking the action. And because I was in the civil service for so long, it doesn't matter how old you are, your gender, your age, anything. It doesn't matter. You always have every day a new choice. You can wake up and do something different. So this is it. The cafe is for people to come in and take that action to change their lives. Like I say, business or personal. So
Yeah.
it's been going now for 2.5 years, and out of that now has developed a business club. So we separated that off for the business people. And then I run business networking as well. So, and it's just a really lovely magical space.
Yeah, it sounds lovely, and it sounds like a real combination of everything that you've been in your life. It just all come together in a really, really nice way, which is really lovely to hear. So is this an online thing or is this an in-person thing?
Yeah, so it's every month. It's in person in Manchester, but it's run online as well. It's a hybrid. So those that are online see the people in the room, and it just really works well together. So anybody can come from anyone from anywhere in the world and experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so lovely and inclusive, isn't it? Because I think that, um, when the online space is great, but I think that we do get a little bit of online fatigue, don't we now? So I think that actually, for me, I'm really craving these in-person
Yeah.
spaces more than ever. And I think the fact that you can do the hybrid, it's like your community members that can't get there all the time, they can just jump on probably and join you there. And I think that's a really creative way to do things, which is yeah, just necessary, isn't it? I think when we're open our mind and our soul to these possibilities, I think that's where, yeah, you get to kind of see what is possible, which is really nice.
Yeah, and I'd love to just have an in-person one in Manchester, but it's within my vision to expand and have more in other cities. So that's one of my dreams.
Yeah, absolutely that. And I think yeah, I feel like we're definitely, there's a call, isn't there, for like women in business, especially, I would say, but women in general, to really reconnect. I think that's just the universe is pulling these things, and I feel like I speak to a lot of women, obviously predominantly all the time, and I just feel like everyone is craving this sense of connection and togetherness and supporting each other. And like you said, your community members, it's almost like you hold the space and then everyone else in there is encouraging each other to do more. And I think that's really, for me, what like matriarchy looks like. It's like, I'll say this a million times, my listeners are like, yeah, we know. It's a circle. you know, and everyone is supporting each other. Whereas I think in the patriarchal triangle, it's like there's one person at the top and everyone's lifting that person up, even when they're on their knees. But in a circle, it's like everyone benefits from this energy. So even holding the space, I'm sure you walk away with like new insights to be like, wow, I needed to hear that today. You know, it's just so lovely.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, okay. If someone was listening right now and was like, that sounds great, how do people find you? How would they work with you? Tell us about your offers and what you're doing at the moment.
Okay, so the universecafe.co.uk, that has everything on there. There's a calendar with all our events and links to Eventbrite to book. On there as well are details of the business club, so you can find out all about that with loads of testimonials on there. And the business networking, the dates are all on there. So I would head straight to the website. I am on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, I'd love people to DM me and just come and have a chat. That would be amazing.
Amazing. So I will put all of the links in the chat so everyone can
Okay.
find you. Sorry, in the chat, in the description, so
Yeah.
that you'll be easy to find. So I'll grab them from you.
Yeah.
And to kind of round off the episode, I always do like a soul to soul message. So based on the conversation or based on someone that you feel like is listening right now, what do you feel like from your soul they need to hear right now?
So, going back to what you said earlier on about what gave me permission, one of the things I've always said to myself is, why not me? Why
Mm.
not me? So I would say to your listeners, why not you?
Yes, I love that so much. Thank you so much for joining me, Pam. I feel like it was a very crisp and clear conversation, which is very nice because I think that when I was recording, obviously the past few months, it's been Mercury retrograde and all the things. So I feel like the fact that you were so concise and clear today, I was like, yes, that is exactly the energy that we are bringing forward into this new astrological year and all of the things if people are listening to time. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, Pam. And yeah, for listeners,
Thank you.
no, you're so welcome. And for all the listeners, obviously, go find Pam and all of the things. And yeah, wishing everyone a lovely week.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, share, and send to someone you know that would benefit. If what I've said in this episode resonates with you, please don't hesitate to drop me a message so we can begin your journey of self-empowerment through self-discovery. My process is simple. Understand what happened to you so you can accept it. From there, you can release what no longer serves you, and then we begin to rebuild your self-worth, your self-esteem, and your self-trust to ultimately ensure that you become the version of yourself that you were destined to be. Time to give yourself the permission to shine.